Hello, welcome back to The Broken Blade, and today we're going to be discussing character creation for Streets of Peril. Starting off, we'll go over our character sheet a little bit, which was designed by Brandon Gillum of Runehammer, and if you have not had an opportunity, you should check out his Runehammer YouTube channel where he makes some really excellent TTRPG content. So this character sheet was an example character sheet we made for Phoenix Fan Fusion for a character named Helga Schmidt. And the first thing we're going to do when we're making our character is determine their attributes. There are 6 attributes: might, toughness, agility, willpower, intelligence, and fate. And each character is going to have 1 rank 4 attribute, 2 rank 3 attributes, 2 rank 2 attributes, and 1 rank 1 attribute. And the player will then just assign the ranks to the attributes as they see fit. So in this case, we can see that Helga has assigned her rank 4 attribute to might, both of her rank 3 attributes to toughness and agility, her rank 1 attribute to willpower, and both of her rank 2 attributes to intelligence and fate. And then beneath the attributes, we list out our skills. So for every rank you have in a skill, you're going to fill in 1 bubble, and then next to that, you'll write in the governing attribute for that skill, along with the number of ranks that you have for that attribute. The cumulative total of ranks between the skill and its governing attribute is then written here on the side, and this determines how many dice are rolled every time you perform that skill check. So in this case, Helga has 1 rank in athletics, 4 ranks in might, for a total of 5, which means that every time Helga rolls an athletics check, she's going to roll 5 dice. Some of the skills a character will start with are derived from their choice in lineage. And as mentioned in a previous video, lineage is often, but not always, a reflection of a character's national background. And while most characters are going to derive from the Cimbrian Empire, there are a number of neighboring nations where characters can also come from. And along with the skills that a lineage offers, there are also some special traits which will also reflect specialized training that the character may have received, and some of these special traits offer additional starting resources for the character. So once a player selects a lineage and declares 3 ambitions, they then choose a character class. And the reason why we chose classes as the starting point for characters is that we wanted characters to feel grounded in the world, and we wanted some explanation as to how those characters came to acquire the skills and abilities that they possess. And furthermore, we also wanted to have some explanation as to how a character came to learn how to fight. Because a character who has learned to fight by brawling in an alley is going to fight differently than a character who has received years of formalized training inside of a fencing guild. Let's take the Brute, for example. These characters receive very little, if any, formal martial training. However, they become very proficient in the various martial games found in the Cimbrian Empire, such as folk wrestling and stick fighting. And because of the countless scraps and fights and brawls that the Brute has participated in, they have become really formidable opponents. And unlike other martial type characters, they are way more resilient and durable than what you would typically expect. So much so that they have a special trait which reflects this called Ignore Pain, where they can simply shrug off damage so many times per encounter. The Man-at-Arms, however, is a disciplined soldier. They have participated in countless drills and musters where they have learned how to fight in formation and coordinate attacks with their allies. As a result of this, they have access to several special traits, allowing them to bolster the performance of their allies. An example of this is the special trait Tactics, where the Man-at-Arms can temporarily improve the attack and defense abilities of an ally. Or their signature special trait, which is Coordinated Movement, and allowing an ally to move once again during the Man-at-Arms turn. And this movement is completely unhindered and not subject to attacks of opportunity, which is really important because this can allow the Man-at-Arms to set up flanking maneuvers or potentially help an ally disengage from a dire combat situation. So while your class explains how you fight and why it is that your character fights the way that they do, subclasses reflect the specialized training your character has received and often come with significant cultural ties to the setting. The duelist, for example, has subclasses which are various schools of sword fighting. And these systems of fencing are a reflection of real world historical martial arts. Each one of these schools of fencing carries with them possible cultural implications. Those belonging to the school of the Iron Rose are all expected to derive from a high-born social class, while those fencers attempting to learn from the school of the Sword Saint are almost certainly going to have to travel to remote monasteries to learn this art from Sigurdian priests. And while doing so, are more than likely going to acquire certain religious traditions and practices which will further influence them in their lives. As previously mentioned, classes and their subclasses provide the character with a number of starting special traits. Classes also provide characters with their beginning skill proficiencies, along with equipment proficiencies and their starting equipment. Once the player has picked their class and subclass, they will then choose one special trait. The character will have the opportunity to gain more special traits as they accumulate experience. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick overview of character creation and go over the character sheet in a little more detail. So the first thing we're going to do is assign ranks to our attributes, which we list here. We'll pick a name for our character. In this case, it's Helga Schmidt. We will pick a lineage, which Helga's lineage is commoner. And we will pick a class and the subclass. We'll list that here, in which case Helga is a brute folk hero. We will declare 3 ambitions for our character, which are listed out here on the side. I'll do another video in the future where I talk about ambitions in a little more detail. The last thing we're going to do when we're creating our character is we're going to pick one special trait for our character. Now, all of our starting skills will be listed out here at the bottom, along with the ranks in those skills. Our skills will be determined, or at least our starting skills are going to be determined by our class, subclass, and lineage. Over here we can see that there are these 4 boxes. I'll talk about those. So over here at the top, we see this grit box. This is going to be where we list out our character's grit points. The base number of grit points that a character will have is equal to their ranks in the grit skill and their ranks in toughness. In this case, Helga has 3 ranks in the grit skill and 3 ranks in toughness, granting her a total of 6, but she's also a commoner, which grants her 1 further grit point for a total of 7 grit points. Below that is the luck points that a character has. The base number of luck points a character has is equal to their ranks in fate. Helga has 2 ranks in fate, therefore she starts off with 2 luck points. Over here is the number of dice the character will roll for an initiative check. The base number of dice rolled for this is equal to the character's ranks in agility. Helga has 3 ranks in agility, therefore she gets to roll 3 dice for her initiative checks. And then below that is the number of armor dice the character gets to roll. The number of armor dice a character rolls is equal to their armor's armor value. In this case, Helga is wearing a cuirass, which grants her 4 armor dice. And the cuirass is also very good at deflecting attacks, meaning that Helga gets to roll red armor dice. And this is also documented here on the character sheet. And then besides those boxes, we see the character's weapons listed out on the side. In this case, Helga is equipped with a Zweihander. The reach or the range of the weapon is listed here. A Zweihander has a reach of 10 feet, which is pretty good considering that most melee weapons only have a reach of 5 feet. The number of bonus damage the weapon deals is listed here. And then the weapon's traits are also listed. Most weapons have a variety of traits. In this case, a Zweihander has the brutal trait, which allows the character to roll red damage dice. It has the sweep trait, which allows the character to attack multiple combatants. And it has the two-handed trait, which means that the character has to maintain 2 hands on the weapon in order to use it. So looking at the other side of the character sheet is where we'll list out our traits along with the description of those traits. So Starting traits will be determined based off of our lineage, class, and subclass. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you'll also get to pick one special trait to begin with. Below that is magic. This is where we'll list out our miracles, spells, or inventions, if that's applicable to us. And then our equipment over here on the side. Most importantly, it's important to keep a track of what equipment has an encumbrance value and then list out those encumbrance values here on the side of the character sheet. All right, well, that should give you some idea of how character creation works and hopefully offers some insight into the game design decisions that were made for Streets of Peril. I'm going to have more content available soon. I'll talk to you again later.